Am I doing anything specifically different for this? No, because I feel like I've already kind of mastered a formula that works for me. That being said, I guess the only real concern I have is losing my temper out there because I can't wait to get my hands on Richard.
Yeah, and I mentioned that it's months in the making. The feud with Fatu, it feels like that was more of a fan driven thing. The company listened, it finally happened, and that had its own big conclusion. But how much did it help you, sort of having this waiting in the wings? Like, I don't want to, look at it from the wrong angle, but how much does it help you as a storyteller to sort of not have to build up to, okay, former friends collide, where it sort of, you know, the fans maybe saw something subtle or, you know,
Well, I think in our industry, whenever certain situations, it builds certain anticipation. Two people are, best friends or tag team partners or stable mates. There's always a certain curiosity of what would happen if that fell apart, if that crumbled. When people are longtime enemies, there's always a certain curiosity of what if they join forces. When someone's been the most hated guy in the entire company, there's always the curiosity of, well, what if he was on our side? What if he fought for what we wanted him to? So, those situations do provide somewhat of a jumping off point for things like you alluded to. So, as this situation started to unfold, it really was something where the minute, the cracks were formed, the fans were ready to just see us smash through it and deliver. And yeah, the anticipation for this match feels very high, and it's something that I think really got to a boiling point very quick.
I spoke with Mr. Saint Laurent going over the card, but your match specifically, he compared to, he called back to, he used to do work with tennis, and he said it was kind of like a doubles team, and then the team splits up, and then the singles guy. Is there any other sport that you would make, or maybe you're a musician, is there any sort of relationship in popular culture you can compare this one to?
um, I've never thought of it in any abstract terms like that. But this is not the by any means the same thing at all. But I do remember used to play in a band for about probably I think we had about 5 year run, and we were pretty well established in our area. We were kind of one of the standouts, and we were all very tight knit group. Um, but as we got older and we got into our 20s, we kind of started kind of going our own paths. We started practicing less and less, and we all interested in other things. And before you knew it, the band just kind of fizzled out. We all just decided we weren't really doing music anymore. But then about a year later, the drummer and bass player in the band, and then the guitarist, we all got the bug to do music again, but not with each other. So he started his band, we started our band about the same time, and there was this like, you can't succeed without me, you can't succeed without me, and like we were just like, my band's gonna play more shows, my band's gonna. So I think like as the dynasty starts kind of unraveling and going in their own separate ways, like there's this, you know, kind of ego that says I was the reason we were successful. You can't be successful without me. And although, I might have wanted Richard to find his success, he maybe didn't want me to find mine. And he maybe thought he was the reason that the dynasty was successful in the first place. And hey, that's his perspective, and he'll have to put up or shut up come this weekend.
Uh, is it fair to say you've seen the movie Rockstar?
What's that?
Is it fair to say you've seen the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
I actually have.
No.
Man,
right.
maybe I'll have to add that to the list.
All right. Well, it's not a huge spoiler, but there's a band breakup, and it's similar to what you said. The one guy's walking out, and he's like, "You can't do this with me, or you." without me, are you serious? He's like, I'm taking my stuff. He's like, I'm walking out that door. He's like, you guys aren't going to be nothing without me. And it's like sort of that, like you can't find success without me. But
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just human nature for everyone to kind of think the world revolves around them and to think, they're the source of all things good and magical. But at the end of the day, especially in the wrestling industry, we're all just spokes on the wheel. So if we get our turn at the top, you just got to fight like hell to preserve that. And you got to fight like hell to show you earned it. And you got to do everything you can. To keep showing that that's the reason. There's a reason you got there, and there's a reason you're going to stay there.
all right, on a lighter note, if you are the multiverse Thor, who would Richard Holliday be?
Back when Richard and I were friends, one of the things that always bugged me about him was he had like zero interest in superheroes and superhero movies. And I get that. Like a lot of people, aren't necessarily to the degree where they read comics and things like that growing up. But I think, in modern times, it's pretty common to at least, kind of watch the popular Marvel movies that come out, but he's never seen any of them. So he would never get any like reference to anything. And anytime a discussion would take place involving superheroes or a reference, he didn't get anything. So it's funny when you pose that question, I want to say something like really snarky just to kind of be like a jab at him. But any of my like comparisons to any other characters, he wouldn't even get. It would go right over his head anyway.
All right. Well, the person that suggested the question, he predicted your answer. I could share it with you.
Oh, I got to hear it.
He said Richard would be Ant-Man crawling up your asshole.
That's what it's kind of felt like the last couple of weeks, to be fair. That being said, I don't think he has the power to expand and blow me apart, but he has felt like an uncomfortable itch on my asshole for the last, couple weeks here.
All right. On a more serious note, I do want to look at the card. You're not involved in these matches, but you could be looking at another title defense. When you're successful, you've already fought Jacob Fatu, you've fought Mads Kruger, you've defended in a triple threat. You've had some solid title matches the past few months, pretty much I'll say monthly, but it's really every live event that MLW's had in 2022. Are you looking at anybody? Maybe it's a new addition, maybe you want another shot at that you really think you could have a really, really solid feud or maybe a one-off match with?
Right now it's hard because, like you were talking about our card, and I get so wrapped up and in the zone about the now, about what I'm doing, what's immediately in front of me, because I've had to like learn the hard way that when you spend too much time, looking in the future, it doesn't lend favorably to how you handle the present. That being said, it's been hard for me to ignore, the things that keep popping up about like the matches that are added and the appearances that keep getting added to Kings of the Colosseum. Right now, I think there's a group of guys at MLW that's like right on that cusp of breaking through to that next level. And I think the ball's really in their court about who's going to grab it, about who's going to take it, who's going to seize the opportunity, who's going to step up. And I think there's about 3 or 4 guys that are right there that could elevate themselves to that main event level status very soon. Whether it's a guy like Calvin Takeman or EJ Nduka, even Myron Reed, despite being a middleweight, like that guy is incredible. And then there's also guys who, despite being in the business just as long as them and going all the same places, we've never wrestled. Guys like Matt Cross, who I'd love to wrestle. So there's all kinds of matches I'd love to have. But that being said, in my position, it's not about just who I want to wrestle. It's about who reaches that position,
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm really interested about in the coming months is Battle Riot, because looking past Kings of the Colosseum, there's the Battle Riot. coming up in New York, and that's actually how I got my shot at the heavyweight championship, was winning that. So that's a guaranteed title match in the making, and it's usually somewhat of a surprise, like because it's really 40 guys walk in, and it's anyone's game who's walking out and get that title shot. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities down the line, but as far as is there a specific name? Not really. Right now, I'm really concerned with this match coming up this weekend, and once that's the dust is settled from that, I'll start kind of keeping my eye on what's next.
Yeah, and I believe you mentioned a few months ago, Killer Cross. If he's still around, you feel like it's inevitable that you guys square off at some point. So quite the list to keep your eye on, but remaining focused on this weekend, certainly something you want to do. I'll flip the question a little bit, and usually we do a watch list. I'll ask for match picks or recommendations. Maybe it's a few matches you've had, maybe it's one that was memorable for one reason or another. Any one of your title defenses stand out more than the other, or something went right that you're exceptionally proud of? Like I mentioned a few of the matches. You just had one that I didn't mention was you just squared off with Davey Richards not too long ago too. Super fight that got some considerable attention too. So anything come to mind when you think about your title reign so far?
As for right now, if I was kind of given the ultimatum of send somebody one of your matches to watch, you get one chance to sell them on yourself, I would probably say Davey Richards. I have looked up to Davey for a long time. He's one of the first guys who inspired me in wrestling, and to kind of make that journey, because there's a lot of guys that I watched. There's a lot of those guys who I watched and was fans of, and then ended up wrestling. But I remember when I first got introduced to independent wrestling, I thought Davey Richards was the best wrestler in the world. And then, some 10, 12 years later, I wrestled him and I confirmed it. Davey Richards is the best wrestler I've ever wrestled. And I told him that, and I think he thinks I was just being like nice and, like, oh, how many people have you said that to? But I mean it. And that being said, once the entrances were over and that initial bout of nervous butterflies left my system and I went into, Hammerstone mode, I felt like we, were very equally matched in that ring. I think I stood up to a guy that I thought was one of the best in the world and proved that I too am one of the best in the world. And I just think it was a very quality wrestling match. There wasn't a lot of over the top, gimmicky anything in the match to help facilitate interest. It was really just watch these guys do what they do in the ring. And for that reason, I very much enjoyed that. Obviously, a lot of people point to the Fatu match, and that was a very meaningful match to me. Obviously, I won the championship that night. It was something like a 30+ minute match. So it was a very hard fought, very, long, epic match. But that being said, that was the match where I almost broke my ankle. And despite a lot of people still liking the match and saying it was great, and I can watch it now and appreciate it. I remember just having a bad taste in my mouth about it, just because I watch it and I see the injury, and then I'm like watching the little things that I couldn't quite execute exactly the way I wanted to because of it. But that's pro wrestling too, so that adds an element to it that's kind of like an X factor of its own. So some might say that makes the match even better. All things considered, I've had some really great opponents. I've had some really great people standing across the ring from me, and I think I've put together some pretty quality matches all around. So I don't think there's going to be a bad one in the bunch. But yeah, to answer the question the longest way possible, I think Davey stands out to me.
And I know you just confirmed it not too long ago. I think it was December. You signed a multi-year deal, so hopefully we get to see more title matches, more title defenses. at the very least, hope to see you and Davey square off again. Just for the fact that, everything you just said, and, it has that personal meaning, that'll be something to look forward to. And I know you're focused on this weekend, but I did want to talk about your music career before we let you get out of here. You just released an album. It's under the name Blown Away Luna. I know you mentioned that you were shopping it to see if you could do it as a live thing. Have you had any success with that yet? Any interest in that?
That has been such a process because I really kind of dove headfirst into this in January when I decided to actually record the music. I've been spending way too much money on the recording process and on music equipment. And I started, putting out Craigslist ad and Facebook posts and, going into Facebook groups and getting on these, kind of band oriented kind of apps where you're searching for people. And it's been such a process to search out people and try to find people who are kind of like-minded and who actually know how to play their instrument and have equipment and all these things. It's man, it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought, and even recording my album, talking to the guy who helped record it, we were kind of discussing this. It's like, well, it'll be a lot easier for you since you have such a large following. And I thought that was going to be the case. I thought I was going to be like, hey guys, who wants to play in a band with Hammerstone? And I thought I was going to have like a list of people lining up, but that was just not the case. Or at the very least, the ones that I did had no business saying they wanted to join a band. But that being said, I actually have a planned date. So not this Friday, but the Friday after that, I've organized a group of guys. We've kind of been remotely learning the songs. I kind of just sent, the music and the tracks to everybody, and we're supposed to assemble for the first time and hopefully play through a handful of songs and see how it works out. So I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. It seems like this could be it. It seems like I might have a group together and I can start, the music thing is never supposed to be an escape, or a different career path than wrestling. It's just something I enjoy and want to, pursue on the side. But hopefully it's something that I start being able to do in a more, outward capacity where I'm playing shows again.
Yeah. No, I've said this to a bunch of different people I've talked to. I feel like the pandemic challenges people, especially in an artistic way, to try something new or sort of enhance what you're already doing. So, you have that creative outlet already. And I know you've shared various clips on social media over the years. So, the fact that you're doing it at this level and want to pursue it even more while maintaining your wrestling career, it's really cool to see. Fingers crossed that, all goes well next Friday, but, until then, you have quite the schedule this week, Kings of Colosseum. Best of luck to you this Friday, and thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It was a great time talking to you.